On a humid summer morning somewhere in rural Kansas during the early 1970s, a groundskeeper sits atop a riding mower, tracing wide circles around trees, fence posts, and flower beds. Every turn wastes time. Every missed patch requires another pass. Every obstacle forces the machine to stop, reverse, reposition, and start again. Across America, millions of acres of grass are being cut this way. Golf courses, school grounds, municipal parks, cemeteries, sports fields, large estates. The inefficiency is so common that nobody questions it. That is usually how industries work before a revolution arrives. People accept a problem for so long they stop seeing it as a problem. Then someone notices, and once they notice, everything changes. Today, zero-turn mowers are everywhere. Professional landscapers depend on them. Commercial mowing companies build entire businesses around them. Homeowners with large properties willingly spend thousands of dollars to own them. The machines can spin within their own footprint, cut mowing time dramatically, and maneuver around obstacles with a precision that older riding mowers never achieved. The category generates billions of dollars in sales every year, yet most people have no idea where it started. The story does not begin with John Deere. It does not begin with Toro. It does not begin with Husqvarna. It begins with a small American company called Dixon Industries and a founder who looked at the same mowing problem everyone else saw and refused to accept it. The man behind the company was Leo J. Dixon. Long before zero-turn mowers became a category, Dixon was building equipment in the American Midwest, where practicality mattered more than marketing. Farmers, groundskeepers, and property owners did not care about flashy advertisements. They cared about saving time, saving fuel, saving labor. The challenge facing the mowing industry was enormous. By the 1960s, suburban expansion had transformed America. Millions of new homes appeared. Public parks expanded. School districts grew. Commercial landscaping became a serious business. Grass itself had become an industry. Yet mowing technology remained surprisingly inefficient. Traditional lawn tractors were designed more like miniature farm tractors than purpose-built. Mowing machines. They turned slowly. They struggled around obstacles. Operators spent countless hours performing maneuvers that contributed nothing to cutting grass. Every extra pass represented wasted labor. Every wasted labor hour represented money. Leo Dixon saw an opportunity hidden inside those wasted movements. What if a mower could pivot instantly? What if it could cut around trees without stopping? What if the machine could turn so sharply that its turning radius effectively disappeared? Today, those questions sound obvious. At the time, they sounded unconventional. Many manufacturers focused on bigger engines, wider decks, and more horsepower. Dixon focused on maneuverability. It was a different way of thinking about productivity. Instead of making mowing faster by increasing speed, he wanted to eliminate wasted motion altogether. During the 1970s, Dixon Industries began developing and refining machines that would eventually become known as zero-turn mowers. The concept was simple but revolutionary. Independent wheel control allowed the machine to rotate around its own axis. One wheel could move forward while the other moved backward. The result was a mower capable of turning within its own footprint. For operators accustomed to wide looping turns, the first experience felt almost unbelievable. The machine seemed to dance across the grass. Trees that once required multiple maneuvers could be trimmed with a single smooth motion. Productivity jumped, labor costs fell. But there was a problem. Revolutionary products rarely sell themselves. Customers first need to believe the revolution is real. And convincing an entire industry to abandon decades of habit would become the greatest challenge Dixon Industries had ever faced. Because inventing a better machine is one thing, changing how people think is something else entirely. In the late 1970s, if you parked a Dixon zero-turn mower next to a conventional lawn tractor at a dealership, most customers would not immediately understand what they were looking at. The machine seemed strange. The steering system looked unfamiliar. The seating position felt different. Even the way it moved challenged decades of assumptions about how a mower was supposed to behave. That was the problem facing Leo Dixon and his company. The technology worked. The market did not yet understand why it mattered. Throughout industrial history, breakthrough products often face the same obstacle. Customers compare them against existing products rather than against the problem solved. Early automobiles were compared to horses. Early computers were compared to typewriters. Early smartphones were compared to flip phones. Dixon's zero-turn mowers faced a similar challenge. Buyers saw a mower. They compared it to other mowers. They focused on purchase price rather than productivity. But Leo Dixon understood something many competitors missed. Professional landscapers were not buying equipment. They were buying time. Every minute saved on a property allowed crews to move to the next job. Every reduction in labor costs improved profitability. Every increase in productivity created competitive advantage. The machine's true customer was not the mower operator. It was the business owner calculating hours, fuel, payroll, and margins. As the commercial landscaping industry expanded throughout the 1970s and early 1980s, that distinction became increasingly important. Across America, new landscaping companies emerged to serve growing suburbs, office parks, schools, hospitals, and municipalities. Grass was becoming big business. A large crew might spend hundreds or even thousands of hours mowing every season. Small improvements in efficiency translated into significant financial gains. Dixon began demonstrating its machines directly to professionals. Once operators experienced the technology, skepticism often disappeared. The ability to maneuver around trees, signs, curbs, flower beds, and obstacles without repeated backing and turning felt transformative. Jobs that once consumed entire days could sometimes be completed substantially faster. Word began spreading through the industry, not through national advertising campaigns, but through conversations between contractors. One landscaper would see another crew finishing a property sooner than expected. Questions followed. Demonstrations followed. Sales followed. This kind of growth was powerful because it was driven by results rather than hype. Yet success attracted attention. Larger manufacturers began noticing what was happening. For decades, Dixon had largely operated outside the spotlight. Now competitors saw a category with enormous potential. The very feature that made zero-turn mowers unique also made them difficult to ignore. Productivity was visible. Customers could literally watch the difference. A machine completing a property in fewer passes provided its own advertisement. During the 1980s, Dixon became closely associated with the zero-turn concept itself. In many markets, the company was helping define an entirely new category of equipment. This should have been the perfect position, and for a while it was. The company's name became linked to innovation. Dealers embraced the technology. Professional users increasingly adopted the machines. The future seemed promising. But history contains a recurring pattern. The company that creates a category is not always the company that dominates. Inventors often teach the market what is possible. Then larger competitors arrive with deeper pockets, larger dealer networks, stronger manufacturing capacity, and greater marketing budgets. Suddenly the battle shifts. The challenge is no longer proving the concept works. The challenge becomes surviving the success of your own invention. Dixon Industries was about to discover just how difficult that battle could become, because the machine that turned inside its own shadow had become too important for the industry's giants to ignore. On a spring morning in the late 1980s, a landscaping contractor walks through a trade show filled with shiny equipment. Everywhere he looks, manufacturers are talking about productivity, faster mowing, lower labor costs, better maneuverability. A decade earlier, those conversations belonged almost entirely to Dixon. Now they belong to everyone. That is the strange reward of innovation. When you truly change an industry, eventually your competitors start copying the future you created. By the end of the 1980s, the commercial mowing business was booming. America's suburbs continued expanding. Corporate campuses multiplied. Municipal budgets for parks and recreation grew. Golf courses spread across the country. The demand for professional grounds maintenance seemed endless. At the same time, labor costs were rising. Finding reliable workers was becoming harder. Landscaping companies needed ways to accomplish more work with fewer people. Zero-turn technology offered exactly that solution. The numbers were difficult to ignore. Compared to traditional lawn tractors, zero-turn mowers could significantly reduce mowing time on many properties. Landscapers who adopted them often discovered they could complete more jobs per day without increasing crew size. For business owners, that translated directly into profit. As a result, major manufacturers entered the category. Companies such as Toro, Exmark, Skag, Ferris, Hustler, Grasshopper, and eventually John Deere and others began investing heavily in zero-turn designs. Each brought its own engineering approach. Each sought to capture a piece of the rapidly expanding market. The competitive landscape changed almost overnight. For Dixon Industries, this represented both validation and danger. Validation because the entire industry was now embracing a concept the company had helped pioneer. Danger because larger competitors possessed advantages Dixon could never fully match. They had broader dealer networks, larger research budgets, greater manufacturing scale, stronger national advertising, more resources for product development. In many industries, this is where the original innovator disappears, yet Dixon continued fighting. The company expanded product offerings and maintained a reputation for innovation. Its machines remained popular among loyal users who appreciated the brand's pioneering role. But the economics of the industry were shifting. Manufacturing equipment had become increasingly expensive. Regulatory requirements continued growing. Customer expectations increased. Competition compressed margins. Simply surviving demanded constant investment. Meanwhile, the zero-turn mower itself was evolving. What began primarily as a commercial landscaping tool started moving into residential markets. Homeowners with larger properties discovered they could enjoy many of the same productivity benefits as professional operators. A machine originally designed to help businesses save labor was becoming a consumer aspiration product. The market exploded. By the 1990s and early 2000s, zero-turn mowers were among the fastest-growing segments in outdoor power equipment. Annual industry sales climbed steadily. New models appeared every year. Features improved. Engines became more powerful. Cutting decks became more sophisticated. Ride quality improved. What had once been a niche innovation was becoming mainstream. Ironically, this growth created a new problem for Dixon. As the category expanded, brand recognition increasingly shifted toward companies with larger marketing budgets. New buyers entering the market often encountered Toro, John Deere, Husqvarna, Exmark, or Cub Cadet before they learned anything about Dixon's pioneering role. The inventor was slowly being overshadowed by the industry it helped create. This phenomenon is surprisingly common. Many consumers know Apple did not invent the smartphone. Few know who did. Many know Ford did not invent the automobile. Few remember the dozens of manufacturers that disappeared. Industries often remember winners more clearly than pioneers. Dixon was facing that reality in real time. Yet the company still possessed something valuable: history, credibility, a direct connection to one of the most important innovations in modern grounds maintenance. The question was whether that legacy would be enough to survive the next wave of industry consolidation. Because as the 21st century approached, the outdoor power equipment market was entering a period where size mattered more than ever before. And the company that helped create the zero-turn revolution would soon find itself fighting not for dominance, but for survival. On a rainy afternoon sometime in the early 2000s, a landscaping crew unloads a trailer filled with zero-turn mowers before beginning another long day of work. The machines move across the property with astonishing speed, spinning around trees, trimming fence lines, and covering acres of grass with an efficiency that would have seemed impossible a generation earlier. The operators do not think about Leo Dixon. They do not think about the engineers who pioneered the concept decades earlier. They are simply using the industry standard. That is the paradox facing many inventors. The more successful an innovation becomes, the more invisible its creators often become. By the early 21st century, zero-turn mowers were no longer an emerging technology. They had become one of the most important categories in outdoor power equipment. Commercial landscapers depended on them. Municipal fleets depended on them. Homeowners with larger properties increasingly wanted them. Industry revenues climbed into the billions. Dealers devoted entire showrooms to the category. Manufacturers competed fiercely to introduce new features, better suspension systems, larger cutting decks, and more powerful engines. The revolution had succeeded. Yet Dixon Industries found itself in an increasingly difficult position. Success had transformed the competitive environment. Companies with enormous resources now dominated the category. Some possessed nationwide dealer networks. Others benefited from global manufacturing scale. Many could invest heavily in research, development, advertising, and distribution. Dixon remained respected, but respect does not always translate into market dominance. The company's challenge was not technological. The challenge was structural. In modern manufacturing, scale matters. Purchasing power matters. Supply chains matter. Dealer support matters. Financing programs matter. The economics of the business increasingly favored larger organizations capable of spreading costs across massive production volumes. Throughout the industry, consolidation accelerated. Smaller brands disappeared or were acquired. Larger companies expanded portfolios and strengthened market positions. The outdoor power equipment market was beginning to resemble many other mature industries where a handful of major players controlled most sales. Meanwhile, customer expectations continued rising. Operators wanted greater comfort, lower maintenance, improved fuel efficiency, enhanced reliability, better ergonomics, more sophisticated controls. Meeting those expectations required constant advancement. Every new generation of products became more expensive to develop than the last. Dixon faced the same dilemma that has confronted countless American manufacturing companies. How do you remain independent in an industry increasingly dominated by scale? It is one thing to invent a category. It is another thing to control it forever. History is filled with examples. Xerox helped define modern copying, but did not dominate every aspect of office technology. Kodak helped democratize photography, but struggled during digital transformation. Countless innovators discovered that being first does not guarantee being biggest. Dixon experienced a similar reality. The company's contribution to the zero-turn mower revolution remained undeniable. Without its early efforts, the industry would likely have evolved differently. Yet the category had grown beyond any single company. Competitors refined the concept, expanded it, marketed it, scaled it. Eventually, zero-turn mowing became bigger than Dixon itself. Then came the outcome that often follows decades of competitive pressure. Ownership changes, restructuring, brand transitions. The details mattered less than the broader reality. The company that helped launch a revolution was no longer driving the industry it had helped create. And yet something remarkable had happened. Even as Dixon's independent influence declined, its idea continued spreading. Every major manufacturer now treated zero-turn technology as essential. Millions of machines operated across North America. Landscapers built entire business models around productivity gains made possible by the concept. Homeowners viewed zero-turn capability as a premium feature worth paying for. In a strange way, Dixon had won and lost at the same time. The company did not become the dominant giant of the industry, but the idea it championed became the industry itself. The question now was whether history would remember the machines that followed or the company that first imagined mowing without turning. On a bright summer morning today, somewhere in America, thousands of zero-turn mowers leave garages, trailers, equipment sheds, municipal yards, golf course maintenance buildings, and landscaping depots. Within minutes, they are cutting grass around trees, mailboxes, fences, flower beds, ponds, playgrounds, and buildings with a speed that previous generations could scarcely imagine. Operators spin effortlessly around obstacles. Acres disappear beneath wide-cutting decks. Jobs that once required long days now take hours. Most of the people sitting in those seats have never heard of Leo Dixon. Most have never heard of Dixon Industries. They know the machine. They know the category, they know the result, but they rarely know where the idea began. That is what makes this story both triumphant and bittersweet. Dixon Industries never became the largest outdoor power equipment manufacturer in America. It never grew into a giant like John Deere. It never achieved the global scale of companies such as Toro or Husqvarna. Yet few companies can claim something arguably more important. Dixon helped change how an entire industry thinks. Before zero-turn technology, mowing productivity was largely measured through speed, engine size, and cutting width. After zero-turn technology, maneuverability became equally important. The industry stopped asking only how fast a mower could move. It began asking how efficiently a mower could work. That distinction transformed commercial landscaping. It transformed municipal maintenance. It transformed large property ownership, and it transformed the economics of grass itself. Millions of labor hours have been saved because a machine no longer needs to make wide turns around every obstacle. Countless businesses have grown because crews could complete more work in less time. Entire product categories worth billions of dollars emerged from an idea that once seemed unconventional. The irony is that many revolutionary inventions eventually become so common that people forget they were inventions at all. Nobody marvels at a light switch. Nobody thinks about the first escalator. Nobody stops to appreciate the engineering breakthrough behind a zipper. Once an innovation becomes part of daily life, it disappears into normality. Zero-turn mowing followed the same path. What once looked radical now feels obvious. But obvious ideas are often the most powerful. Looking back, Leo Dixon's insight appears almost simple. Eliminate wasted motion, remove unnecessary turns, let the machine work smarter rather than merely harder. Yet simple ideas are often the hardest to see because they challenge assumptions everyone else accepts. The true significance of Dixon Industries lies not in the number of machines it sold or the size of its revenue. It lies in proving that a small American manufacturer could reshape an industry dominated by larger competitors. It lies in demonstrating that innovation does not always come from the biggest company with the biggest budget. Sometimes it comes from someone willing to question a problem everyone else has learned to tolerate. Today, the zero-turn mower market generates billions of dollars annually. Every major manufacturer participates. Competition remains fierce. Technology continues, evolving through improved suspension systems, electronic controls, battery-powered platforms, autonomous capabilities, and advanced fleet management systems. The machines of tomorrow will likely look very different from the machines Leo Dixon helped pioneer. Yet their fundamental DNA remains the same: the ability to turn within their own footprint, the ability to eliminate wasted movement, the ability to treat maneuverability as productivity. And so the story ends where it began. A groundskeeper sits atop a mower on a summer morning. Trees line the property, fences divide the landscape, flower beds create obstacles everywhere. Decades ago, every one of those obstacles meant another wide turn, another lost minute, another wasted movement. Today, the machine pivots effortlessly around them, cutting a clean path through the grass before accelerating toward the next section. To the operator, it feels completely normal. But hidden inside that ordinary moment is the legacy of a company most people have forgotten. Dixon Industries may no longer dominate headlines. Its name may not appear on every machine, yet every time a zero-turn mower spins within its own shadow, the idea survives. And perhaps that is the ultimate measure of industrial success. Not whether people remember your name, but whether they continue using your invention long after they have forgotten who invented it.